Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Please let me
Hi,
know if you guys can hear me.
we can hear you, Bianca. Thank
Okay,
you for joining
great.
us.
Great. I'm very excited. I was busy listening in on what Jazzy was saying and just what you guys got out of her speaking segment and just the enthusiasm that you guys have going on in the room. I'm very excited to be here. So thank you to everybody who pitched up physically as well as everybody that is online. I know sometimes life can happen and we can't always get to things that we need to be, but first of all, just congratulate yourself for being here today. And like you guys are saying, we're here to learn more. So I'm going to dive straight into my slides and I hope you guys get something out of it. So my name is Bianca, as you guys all know, and my topic for today is the globalized VA market, going through both the opportunities and the challenges that we face. I'm a virtual assistant turned VA coach from South Africa. So, hello to everybody on the African continent. And I help moms start their VA business without confusion and overwhelm so they can live the life they dream of. We're going to be diving into the globalized VA market and the incredible opportunities that key. So let's get into it. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the growing demand. So, the demand for virtual assistants has skyrocketed in the most recent years, and there's different businesses across all types of industries that are realizing hiring VAs isn't only cost effective, but also highly efficient. There's small business owners, there's entrepreneurs, and even corporate teams. I know sometimes it's hard to imagine, but there's corporate teams out there that are also outsourcing administrative tasks, social media management, customer service, and so much more. And this shift came about when we all experienced the COVID pandemic. And that actually made us realize that remote working, is normal. And it has made businesses more comfortable with the idea of hiring skilled professionals from different parts of the world, like South Africa, Nigeria, from Philippines, you name it, we are out there. I don't know about the Nigerian government too much, but I know in South Africa, when we went through the pandemic, our president literally said, it's okay to work from home. There was a big thing about that here. So there were some business owners that were like, no, you have to be in an office. And other business owners were, you know what, this is actually better for people that work with me. And for me personally, I was already working from home before the pandemic hit. So for me, nothing changed. For a lot of people, things did change. And some people actually now prefer working from home and it's better for them. So it opened up a lot of opportunities for people like us, VAs. And like I'm saying, there's more job opportunities and there's a greater chance of securing long-term clients because this demand has grown so much. So I know Jazzy was also mentioning that there's more specialized skills. So that's exactly what I'm saying here. So businesses look for specialized support. So if you offer a specific niche, things like bookkeeping, copywriting, social media strategy. So strategy is different to just scheduling the posts. Automation setup. I know AI has also blown up quite a bit lately. So if you offer more specialized support, specialized niches, you will be able to set yourself apart in the market. Something that I've come across with the ladies that are in, even the gents that are in my program specifically, a lot of them want to start off offering just admin support. I have worked with clients, and I've even had clients come to me and they're like, Bianca, we're actually looking for somebody that, can build an automation, can write email copy, can create social media content and then post it and things like that. And I'm like, there's such a need for it, but everybody is so scared to offer a niche. And that's where, again, you set yourself apart. So if you have this desire, if you have a specific skill, don't hide behind, oh, nobody's going to hire me. Nobody is going to understand what I offer. Trust me, there are businesses out there that are looking for that specialized support that you can provide. And over the past decade, the virtual assistant industry has experienced significant growth. So I'm just going to go through some stats with you guys, just to give you an idea about how it's grown. So in 2013, the market was actually still relatively new, and that wasn't so long ago. And because it was so new back then, there's actually limited data available on the actual size of how many VAs were out there. However, by 2023, 2 years ago, the industry has expanded so much that the market side is approximately $8.66 billion. I can't even picture that amount of money. So that's just giving you an idea of how big the market is. And there's projections that indicate that the growth is going to continue, and it's going to reach around $29 billion by 2031. So that's an annual growth of 28.44%. And that's between 2024 to 2031. That's crazy. And here's just an image so that you can see how much it's going to grow by. It's crazy. And what's amazing for me is people think that the VA industry is oversaturated, or there's too many VAs, or there's too many VAs that offers specific services. There was another stat that I shared with my VA group, and I can't remember the exact number, but there is a ridiculous amount of new businesses that start every single month. So not just, and this is one of the things that I enjoy about working with international clients, is you don't just have to focus on your own country. There are so many different countries out there. There are so many different business owners in each of those countries, and we just need to think a little bit bigger. So yes, networking is important, but you don't physically have to network in person. And that's the nice thing about working in a global industry. Again, exactly just what I was about to say here. So the biggest advantage of being a VA is that you can work with clients anyway. Absolutely anyway. So you don't have to just work with clients in your own country. I personally have worked with clients in the US, in the UK, Spain, and in my own country, South Africa. I know sometimes there are a few things about time zone differences, which I am going to touch on a bit, but I just want you at this moment to just think a little bit bigger. Think outside the box. Think out of your geographical location where you are at this moment. And just remember that there is opportunity. So, again, time zone differences. I'm jumping a bit ahead on myself. So time zone differences may seem like a challenge, but they can actually work in your favor. And there's many businesses that actually prefer having their VA work in a different time zone so that when they wake up and start their day, majority of the work is already done. Yes, I know there may be a few communicational things that need to happen when both the VA and the client can get together, which is fine. But I'm talking about if you need to write emails, for example, if you need to work on your client's social media strategy, if you need to work out an automation, if you need to do something with AI, the client doesn't need to be around in your same time zone in order for you to do that work. Sometimes there may, again, be a bit of back and forth with you and the client, but I mean, you can do the work without them being around. So if you market yourself strategically, you can actually use your time zone as a selling point rather than a disadvantage. And this is what comes, the next thing that comes in with working with global clients is the income opportunities. So I know the African contain the African continent, sorry, the African continent's our currencies, doesn't matter where you are in Africa, isn't obviously as strong as some of the other continents that are out there. And this is, I think, gives us one of the greatest advantages because we can earn in a currency that isn't our own currency, and we can obviously live better lives. So the VA industry is incredibly flexible when it comes to income generation. I know as well, Jazzy spoke a bit about your hourly rates versus like your project-based rates or your retainer rates and things like that. So I concur with her and I agree. You can offer one-time services like project-based tasks or monthly retainers. And I'm not going to go into specifics here, but it's up to you as well. I also tell all the VAs in my VA group, it's up to you how you want to charge. It just depends on what you want to get out of it. If you want to go full time, you're obviously going to charge a little bit differently. If you just want to try it out and do a few hours a month, a few hours a week, then hourly rates might be better for you. It just purely depends on each person. And again, working with international clients can be a huge benefit in terms of income. Now, a lot of VAs, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit as well, is one of the things is, okay, I'm a virtual assistant. I know what services I'm going to offer, but I don't know where to get clients or international clients for that matter. And they are, I don't know, there's so many, and I've made a list of ones that I could find, and there's just new platforms that keep popping up. So platforms like Upwork, Fiverr. I started my VA journey on Fiverr, Flex Jobs, LinkedIn. I saw everybody dropping in the LinkedIn URLs. So we all know LinkedIn works. And all of these platforms makes it easier to connect with international clients. And when you connect with international clients, increasing your chances of charging premium rates is based on the demand of what you offer. And one of the biggest reasons people become VAs, and I know you guys touched on this a little bit earlier as well, is the flexibility. So when I started my VA journey, I wasn't a mom. This was 10 years ago, so I wasn't a mom 10 years ago. When I became a mom, things just changed. And I'm pretty sure everybody that are parents can concur with this. When you're a parent, your life literally revolves around your kids, or you want it to revolve around your kids. But then you still have to work. So you have to travel to work. You then have to sit in your office for however many hours, generally 9 to 5. Then you have to travel back home. Then you have to make dinner. Then you have to do homework. And when do you see your kids? Over the weekend, you just want to, blow off steam and you want to relax, you want to sleep in, but you can't because you're a parent. And being a VA gives you the flexibility of being able to juggle both worlds a little bit better. So if you want to become a VA and the flexibility is the main thing that you're looking for, then it's for you. It really is for you. So if you want to be home with your kids, if you are somebody that isn't a parent, but you want to travel and you want to still work, but travel, or if you're just looking for somebody that wants to deal with a better work-life balance, the VA industry allows you to do just that. You set your own schedule, you set your own rates, you choose your clients, and for me, it just seems like a win-win overall. And just remember that flexibility doesn't necessarily mean less work. So before I became a mom, all I used to do was work, 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 work. And sometimes my clients took advantage of that, and that was on me. But I have now realized, especially since becoming a mom, that boundaries are important. So when you become a VA and you want the flexibility and you want that work-life balance, just know that everything that you do requires discipline, structure, and setting clear boundaries with clients and yourself. And I'm saying yourself because sometimes, and I've posted about this quite a bit on my social media, is you get so wrapped in just wanting to respond to a client message, just wanting to respond to an email. But that's going to have a snowball effect, and the client's going to be like, oh, my VA is available, so I'm going to keep replying. And they're going to start getting used to that, and you're going to have to start replying all the time because the client now expects that from you. So make sure that you set boundaries with clients and yourself. If you feel obligated to reply, switch your phone off, leave it in a different room, put it on airplane mode, or whatever it is. Switch your data off, switch your Wi-Fi off. Just make sure that you stick with your boundaries. Otherwise, you are going to burn out and you are going to end up disliking. I don't want to use the H word, but you are going to dislike being a virtual assistant, and you are not going to be happy with life, and you're going to want to go back to what you did before you became a VA. But if you manage everything well, if you have your systems set up as well, like what Jazzy mentioned, being a VA can offer you a lifestyle that many traditional jobs simply cannot. And I discovered that as well. So this is the next topic that I mentioned we were going to briefly touch on, and that is finding clients. Everybody struggles to find clients, or they say they can't find clients, they don't know how to. They've applied for so many job opportunities, they've applied through LinkedIn, they've applied through the platforms that I mentioned earlier, and they just can't land a client. And then they also say, you know, there's so many VAs out there, the competition is high, the market is saturated, and now those might be relevant points, but to me, they sound more like excuses. So it's very quick to come up with a reason why versus there's a reason why, but here's a solution. And that's the same thing that you need to use when you work with your clients. So just a quick example, your client may come to you and say, I'm having a problem with XYZ. You're not going to go to your client and say, oh, sorry, I don't know what the solution is. So if you can figure out solutions for your clients, figure out solutions for yourself. So even though new VAs often struggle to land their first client, they're not always sure where to look or how to stand out. And overcoming this, one of the biggest things is networking. And I think the word networking has a very negative connotation to it, because when you use the word network, a lot of people automatically think, oh, it's multi-level networking or it's a pyramid scheme. And they don't really listen to what you're saying. Networking is essentially where you tell people what you do and people tell you what they do. So you are building relationships, you are engaging with each other, and that is the networking that I'm talking about here as well. So engage in Facebook groups. Don't sell. Because if you've ever been on a Facebook group or even a LinkedIn community, and there's so many VAs that sell their services, they're not telling the potential clients in those groups and communities what they actually provide, what are the results that they provide. So that's what I mean by don't sell. So you're not going to be like, hey, I'm a VA and I do calendar management. Okay, but what do you exactly mean by calendar management? That's also very vague. So if you say, for example, my name's Bianca and I help small business owners sort out the calendar so that they never miss a meeting, so that they get reminders just before they're about to hop on a Zoom call or whatever the case may be. That is what I do. So you not only telling potential clients what you do, but you're telling them how you do it and you're giving them the result that they're looking for. So sometimes we need to also dumb it down a little bit and use it in normal everyday language. So even when I started my VA journey and I used to tell people that I'm a virtual assistant, the looks that I used to get, people were so confused. They didn't know what I was saying. Now, when I say I'm Bianca and I help businesses organize their operations to make sure that everything works on the back end, oh, okay, so what exactly in operations do you do? Do you do emails? Do you connect with service providers? Like that starts getting the conversation going as well, which is why networking is so important. And if you dumb it down, like I said, then people actually start engaging and they start asking questions. Even if it's not your specific potential client that's in that Facebook group, they're going to remember what you said. And when somebody comes to them and they're like, oh, you know what, I'm having such a problem with my calendar. Do you maybe know anybody that can help me with it? They're going to think about you. And they're going to be like, you know what, I spoke to this person that seemed to know exactly how to solve this issue that you're having. Can I send the details through to you? So that is the kind of networking that you want to be a part of. That is the kind of networking that sets you apart in the VA industry. So be a professional, share valuable insights, and build relationships. The next thing, also briefly, what I just explained, word of mouth. Word of mouth referrals are gold in the VA industry and a lot in other industries as well, but a lot in the VA industry. So always aim to provide exceptional service and exceptional experience for any type of client that you work with. And ask people, do you maybe know of anybody that could use my services? Do you know of anybody that's having an issue with their calendar? I'm just going to stick with that scenario. If you do you mind introducing us? Or when you do know of somebody or if somebody comes to you, please let me know and I could potentially help them the same way I've helped you. And one thing that a lot of VAs do wrong is to not consistently market themselves. Again, this was touched on by the previous speaker, and a lot of VAs, like I mentioned earlier as well, they say finding clients is tough, but they kind of expect clients to come to them. So it's like you're this new VA, again, you know what services you're going to offer, and you're just hearing crickets because you're expecting the world to now know you exist, you do these services, you offer these services, but you're not telling anybody about it. And I know a lot of you were saying that you struggle to put yourselves out there, especially on social media, but it doesn't just have to be social media. If you want to network first amongst people that you know, build your confidence, practice, use them as practice. And once you've gained that confidence, then you can take it online. Then you can build out your social media profiles. You can then start engaging in Facebook groups, LinkedIn communities, and places like that. So just remember that clients aren't going to come to you if they don't know who you are. You have to put yourself out there and market yourself consistently. So make it a goal for yourself, even if it's just for the year. If you want to make your goal for the year to consistently market yourself, list what steps you're going to do every single day. And I mean every day, because it has to be consistent. But write out what your plan is going to be first, because if you're going to dive into it without a plan, you're quickly going to realize that you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what type of content to put out there. You don't know who to approach, and you're just going to give up. So make sure that you have a plan, whether it's a weekly plan, a monthly plan, and just stick to it. So if it's a social media campaign that you want to do, if it's physically networking or networking in groups and communities, or even if it's sending out emails, whatever process you choose to proceed with, just do it consistently. Now, we're going to be talking about the time zone differences. I mentioned this briefly earlier, and working with international clients, you may I just want to be completely honest, and I'm always honest with anybody that goes into my program or asks me for advice. You may have to adjust your hours to align with your clients' needs if you have international clients. Again, I'm not saying that you have to bend over backwards for them. I'm just saying that there may be a few changes here and there, and that also comes in hand with the boundaries that you set with them. So just be prepared for a few changes. It can be a challenge, especially if you have personal commitments that limit your availability, but it is not impossible. The best way to manage this is to set clear expectations from the start, because I even spoke to one of the ladies in my program the other day, and she asked me, she's like, Bianca, do I already tell my clients now what my availability is, or do we do the onboarding stuff first and then I tell them? And my immediate thought was, you know what? You're going to struggle if you don't tell them from the get-go what your availability is, because you're going to get into this comfort zone. They're going to get into a comfort zone, and they're going to get certain expectations, or they're going to expect certain expectations. So if you tell them from the start, Mr. Client, my availability is this. I do not work on weekends, but if you want to send me certain things, I'll have a look at it first thing on Monday. Whatever your availability is, just make sure that your client understands what it is. You have to always be upfront, and clients would rather prefer you being honest and letting them know what's going on than you just disappearing because it's not your working hours. Because now the clients are going to wonder, where did my VA go? Did my VA just, go AWOL? Are they going to come back? This is really important work I need them to do, but I cannot get hold of them. So the client's going to start distrusting you. So that's why communication and just letting them know what your availability is important. Communication barriers. Because VA work is done remotely, communication plays a huge role in success. Misunderstandings can happen very quickly if instructions aren't clear and if there's cultural or language differences, especially with international clients. So I have a client that we communicate purely through text, whether it's text on WhatsApp, text over email, text over project management platforms, and that is our preference. Sometimes we do have check-in calls, but the main thing is text. Sometimes there can be misunderstandings, and then we have to go over things again. So just make sure that your communication is clear. And to avoid any kind of communication barriers or issues, always summarize key takeaways after you have a meeting. So make sure that you have a pen and paper ready, or if you prefer typing, I prefer typing, I would type something out, and then use communication tools like Slack, WhatsApp, project management platforms. I purely prefer project management platforms because we can track the communication, and communication is 99% of the time about a task. So if it's a task and you have all your communication in a project management platform, you don't have to go and look for it on WhatsApp or Slack, especially if there's multiple people working on something. So make sure that you actually have that communication somewhere. And then the more structured and proactive you are in communicating with your clients, the smoother your client relationships will be. Now, pricing yourself. I know there's a lot of input in pricing, and everybody is obviously welcome to their own opinion. What works for you might not work for somebody else, and that's totally okay, because you are an individual, you have your own VA business, and you do things differently. So just bear that in mind. And one of the biggest mistakes that new VAs make is undercharging for their services. If I think back to when I first started, because I started on Fiverr, I was charging Fiverr rates, which is back then, because they've changed the platform a bit, it was $5 per project. Not $5 per hour, it was $5 US dollars per project. And I didn't know that you could actually charge more. I didn't even know what a VA was at that point. But there's so many things when it comes into pricing yourself, how to charge, whether it's hourly, project, recurring. There's so many different ways that you can charge as a VA. And a lot of new VAs try to prove themselves before they ask for higher rates, but it often leads to burnout and financial stress, because you're trying to make a name for yourself and you think, okay, well, if I charge less, then they're more than likely going to hire me. And that's not always the point. So do your research, look at industry standard rates for your specific niche and experience level, and don't always charge based on what you think clients will pay. Charge based on the value you provide and your skill level. And as your skills improve, you can gradually increase your rates to reflect your expertise. Whether it's hourly, recurring, or project-based, you can always gradually increase your rates. It doesn't have to be with the specific client that you have. It could be with new clients that you get, and you can actually so as you get a new client, you can then start charging more for that new client, and then you can as you get another new client, you can start charging more. So that wheel continues. Now, building systems and managing multiple clients. So building systems or having a system in your VA business is super important, because if you're going to want to work with clients and work in their systems, but you don't have your own system, it's a little bit difficult to give advice if you don't take your own advice. So as your business grows, handling multiple clients can be overwhelming, and that is why having a system in place is so important. So if you don't have proper organization, you risk missing deadlines, forgetting tasks, or delivering insufficient work. The best way to stay on top of everything is to implement your system. So use a project management tool, Monday, Trello, ClickUp, Asana. There's so many out there. And then also automate repetitive tasks like using Zapier, and then set up workflows that streamline your own operations. And having systems in place not only allows you to stay organized, but it allows you to scale your business without feeling overwhelmed. Now, when you work from home, it's very easy to fall into a trap of being online and available, like I mentioned earlier. So without setting clear boundaries, you'll always find yourself working late nights, you're skipping breaks, and you're just feeling drained. You actually then don't want to work with your clients. And to prevent the workouts, set your the burnouts, set your working hours, stick to them, create a dedicated space, not your kitchen table, schedule regular breaks, and make time for your personal activities, make time for yourself. I mean, after all, the goal of being a VA is to have more freedom and not less. So is the global VA market worth it? Absolutely. The VA industry is growing rapidly, and there's never been a better time to get started. There are challenges, but the opportunities far outweigh them, especially if you position yourself strategically, market your skills consistently, and continuously learn, like what we're all doing today, and adapt. So if you're serious about building a sustainable VA business, start by writing down what your skills are. Choose your niche. I know there's a lot of people that say you don't have to choose your niche from the get-go, but if you can, choose your niche, your client avatar, put your systems together, and start putting yourself out there. Market yourself and network. Success doesn't happen overnight. Neither does a VA business. But with persistence and a clear plan, you can build a thriving VA career. It's not a job, it's a career that gives you the freedom and income you deserve. Thank you so much for having me here today. I hope you guys all learned something. I was very excited to share all of this with you guys today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for having me.